Hello everybody, Resonance here, and today I have another expert game for you guys as part of my Break the Meta series for Age of Empires 2. Throughout this series, I'll be showcasing a wide variety of creative and situational strategies while evaluating how they might stack up in the current metagame. We've all seen our fair share of galley rushes and knights, so today it's time for something completely different. It's time for some mass Byzantine Cataphracts. In this expert match, Kkab will be playing against DauT in a 1v1 on the map arena. At the bottom half of the map, we have Kkab playing as the blue Aztecs. And on the top side of the map, we have DauT playing as the red Byzantines. Now, mass Cataphracts, this is a strategy I can get behind. For those of you who are not aware, the Cataphract is my favorite unique unit in Age of Empires 2. Not only aesthetically, but I also really like the way that it plays out. You can sort of think of it as a paladin with generally weaker straight-up combat stats, but with a lot of interesting nuances behind it. It's actually quite good against traditional counters for paladins, so the Cataphract has an attack bonus versus infantry units, and it also carries with it some anti-cavalry armor, which means that it takes less damage from halberdiers, camels, Mamluks, traditional units that do counter the paladin-type units. So even though the Cataphract has a little bit less HP, it only has 150, and especially when you compare it to a paladin with bloodlines that would have like 180, that's significantly weaker. It only has 12 attack compared to 14 of a paladin, and it also has 2 lower pierce armor. Elite Cataphract only with 1, paladins with 3. Means that Elite Cataphract's very, very vulnerable to mass ranged units in comparison, but having that extra attack bonus versus infantry, having that anti-cavalry armor, can actually make the Cataphract rather difficult to deal with it, especially if you get their unique technology, Logistica, which is also very expensive, but what it does do is it gives the Byzantines it increases the attack bonus that they have versus infantry. I believe it moves it up from 12, adds an extra 6, so a grand total of 18 extra damage, which is nothing to sneeze at. And it also makes it so the Cataphracts do a little bit of cleave damage, so when they auto-attack, they deal a little damage in an area of effect around their target. I believe that damage is 5, and I don't think it goes on the primary target either. And that certainly helps. I mean, the thing is that if you're like trying to fight an army of Cataphracts and you have like fully upgraded like Cavaliers, or your Paladins are say like, I don't know, like Byzantine or Celt Paladins, and they're missing bloodlines and whatnot, that cleave damage certainly adds up. And where it really matters is against, a huge group of like low HP units, like with low armor as well, like the halberdier or like skirmishers. The Cataphracts just kind of tear right through that. So they're a very interesting unit here, and we're going to see one of the places where they have some reasonable application. But one of the things that really holds the Cataphract back as a unique unit is everything about it is so gosh darn expensive. Let's go to the tech tree really quickly, swap over to the Byzantines, and check out these numbers. They're ridiculous. We take a look at this bad boy. His upgrade cost for Elite Cataphract is 1,600 food and 800 gold. That's really pricey. And Logistica 2, not cheap either. With 1,000 food, 600 gold cost tacked onto that, it can be really difficult to get to a situation where you can safely tech into Elite Cataphracts, get those upgrades, and that's where they really shine, because the regular Castle Age Cataphract unit is not nearly as good. And we have to keep in mind that whenever you're going for a unique unit-focused strategy, there's another hidden cost associated with it, and that hidden cost, of course, is that you need a castle, and that means you have to assign a lot of villagers onto stone to go stockpile all those resources, and that can actually be a huge drain on your economy. 650 stone, that takes quite a while to harvest, and not only that, but you're only producing units from that castle, right? So that means that you're going to be making your army a lot slower than your opponent if your opponent was, say, massing paladins. So there are a lot of drawbacks with the Cataphract, even though they can be extremely difficult to counter, and halberdiers are, still okay against them. Heavy camels are, I guess, alright, but really, like, what you want to be thinking of is perhaps something along the lines of, like, mass ranged units like hand cannoneers and arbalists. Perhaps you throw some halberdiers at the front of that. A combination of things is usually the way to go when dealing with unique units that are hard to counter, like, say, the Cataphract, Longbowmen, or Mangudai. Want to be thinking about combinations of stuff here, and I'm really interested to see how Kkab is going to respond to this strategy, and how we get in a situation where this is a good idea, because remember, Elite Cataphracts are really slow. Like, there are going to be few situations, especially in a 1v1, where you just happen to have the time and money where this is okay. And now here's something that's really weird that's going on right here. For starters, I believe this game was played on the explored visibility, which is why neither player is, being too aggressive here with their scouting, so I believe that they already know the map layout. And if we take a look at the map layout, let's swap over to good old DauT's perspective. Take a look at his main gold and his secondary stone. That's a pretty vulnerable position. Like, you could very easily drop a castle on that if you want, and since I believe this was played on Explored, then Kkab would already know that. So, DauT feels rather vulnerable. He thinks that some sort of early pressure on him could do a lot of damage. Sure, he has an extra gold mine at the back, but this is sort of like a prime area to pressure, especially at this front gate here too, and the Aztecs are favored in the early game due to their stronger economy and the fact that they get loom for free, so it's essentially like, if you get loom, that's one villager down the drain that you could have had, and that's why DauT is actually, I don't believe he even has loom yet, yeah, so he's going to try and mitigate that difference, but Aztec villagers also spend a lot less time walking and dropping off resources because they get to carry an extra +5, and that's actually huge as well, so DauT's going to be a little bit behind in the early game, and what do the Aztecs love to do on Arena? They love to fast Castle Age, plop down a monastery, grab all these relics, get that map control, and they can compete for map control so very well because, well, they get Eagle Warriors, which are a natural counter to your opponent's monks, and, if you're competing over the relics in this early stage of the game, you're going to have to make your own monks. The Eagle Warriors deal with that incredibly well, and they're also a unit that you can field out, pretty easily compared to something like Knights, because they're 50 gold and 20 food a pop, and when you're going for like a sort of like monk-heavy strategy, you're going to have a lot of villagers on gold, so you'll be able to afford Eagle Warriors really easily, and it's not that taxing on your economy, whereas going for something like Knights would require a lot more food in the bank, a lot more farmers, and that could be a little bit tricky. The Aztecs just have such a very strong early Castle Age, and not only that, but their military units also are created 15% faster, so it's a huge bonus for them, and the Aztecs, not only are they favored, but you also want to take control of all the relics because the Aztecs generate gold 33% faster from their relics, and that makes it all the more important. And we look at the way the relics are set up, they're actually, primarily closer to DauT, but Kkab, you would expect him to try and still compete over that too, and you can also get to the Castle Age very quickly with that strong Aztec economy, and that's what DauT's expecting, and this is like peculiar. You usually don't see barracks, being plopped down around 11 minutes when we saw DauT do this, and this is because he fears that sort of Aztec Eagle Warrior monk aggression, and DauT's like really scared about this. Like, he knows that monks can also like poke him over the wall, to threaten to convert some of these gold miners. That's something that DauT's like really scared of. So he has this this stable down here, and he can make a couple knights if he wants to. He could even make light cavalry if he wants to deal with this. But I'm assuming this is for knights because the knights are pretty good against the Eagle Warriors. So I expect that's what he's going to do. If he makes the light cavalry, the Eagle Warriors just kind of like tear right through the light cavalry, almost no issues whatsoever. And DauT's going to go out here, do a little bit of scouting. Here comes the first couple of monks, and Kkab's looking around to go see what's going on. And something that's really peculiar here is that Kkab went for 2 town centers right off the bat as the Aztecs. I mean, this is something you certainly can do. You, by all means, on Arena, feel free to go for a just full-on boom strategy and just not really make any military units till you reach the Imperial Age. The Aztecs are a pretty good candidate for that, considering that they get that Elite Eagle Warrior power spike. Elite Eagle Warriors are certainly best in the early Imperial Age when it's difficult for your opponent to tech into counters for that. Your opponent's not going to open up with champions most of the time, and well, Elite Eagle Warrior just can get a lot of value there, and you should be able to get to Imp before your opponent, and just kind of like steamroll them. So, the Aztec boom here is absolutely fine, and DauT, fearing the monk push that just never really came, and well, it looks like he has his scout moving out here. He's going to try and take out Kkab's Eagle Warrior, and this could be really bad. I can't stress this enough, but you do not want to lose your scout, as scouting information is literally everything. Like, if DauT knew that Kkab was just trying to go for a full-on boom, I don't think DauT would have gone for a 2 monastery play with a stable. I really don't think that DauT was expecting this type of play from Kkab here, as Kkab's just content to sit back. He has a monastery of his own, but I don't think that Kkab will actually use it for anything right about now, and I think that DauT will actually safely be able to get all 5 relics. That'll give him a huge bonus. That might not be super duper relevant, though, considering that, unless this game really drags, players often compete for the relics, like especially on Arena in a 1v1, because the game could go late. It doesn't always, but it could, and in that case, it really, really adds up over time. But the game will have to drag a bit. I think that Kkab has certainly enough gold mines to sustain him for the time being. He has his main gold here, he has a gold at the back, and well, if he secures map control later, he'll always be able to go, claim some of those extra gold mines. But in the meantime, DauT gets a huge boost to his economy here. He won't be able to really put that gold to use in the short term right now. Yeah, he's not really going to have that much gold to spend on. He's probably just going to want to try and get his economy sort of up to speed with Kkab. Kkab taking a reasonable risk here. He's ceding all 5 relics in exchange to try and, get an economy lead. And, well, there are two ways to look at this. For one, Kkab has managed to sort of force or trick DauT into perhaps overreacting with a unnecessary stable and 2 monastery play, which does definitely delay DauT's economy. And let's keep in mind here that the Aztecs will naturally outboom the Byzantines. The Byzantines don't have any strong economic bonuses, whereas the Aztecs do. That free loom, the villagers being able to carry more, goes an extremely long way, and it will allow them to just outboom the Byzantines in essentially, most situations. So Kkab was already inevitably going to have an eco lead here, and the eco lead is going to grow even further and much quicker than normal because DauT had to invest in this early military, and perhaps that could have been another town center between all that wood. He would have a lot more resources to, invest in villagers, because look how much gold he has stockpiled from these relics. That gold's not really going to good use here, and I'm not even sure if DauT needs these 4 villagers on gold right now, but he could always just use the market later. On the flip side, though, DauT can apply some pressure to Kkab, and, I'm actually kind of curious as to why Kkab would go for such a greedy boom like this, because he is already going to outboom DauT, and this is a kind of interesting topic in that, or concept in that, well, if your opponent has, like, a natural advantage on you, like, you're looking for asymmetry if you want to win in this situation. You don't want to mirror your opponent if your opponent already has a natural advantage. And in this, like, Aztec, like, in this, like, monk war in the Castle Age, the Aztecs, like, their monks get, like, extra HP for every monk tech that they have researched. They get more income from their relics. Your economy is already going to be stronger than the Byzantine economy. The Aztecs are going to probably pull ahead usually, and you also get access to Eagle Warriors too, which is a great little option. So yeah, in that case, if they were both going for a mirror, if Kkab wanted to go for that sort of monk push, I think it would actually have probably destroyed DauT. And, well, when we're in this, like, sort of asymmetrical position like this, I think it favors DauT, even though he, is invested quite a bit in this military. It does slow down his boom a little bit. We can see that he's, starting to fall behind in villagers. I believe he's about 15 villagers behind here, because he's about, has like 5 to 10 military units. So he's falling a little bit behind. I think, though, that this asymmetrical position really does favor DauT. Like, Kkab should probably be maybe applying some pressure of his own here, knowing that DauT has already, weakened his own economy like this. Perhaps Kkab could go for some sort of delayed push and just try and, clear out all these monks and just start attacking DauT, since DauT is going to be behind here. But instead, Kkab is going to give DauT enough space that, well, he's going to be able to, go up to Imp relatively soon. That's why we see this university coming down right now. And Kkab will be able to get to the Imperial Age first, though, so he does have this window where he wants to apply pressure. So Kkab's not waiting that long here. I do think, though, that perhaps there was some value in attacking a little bit earlier. And either way, Kkab on his way up to the Imperial Age, and I expect DauT to not be too far behind. Thankfully, though, even with all this like excess gold and this low food, the Byzantine's Imperial Age does cost a lot less, and that is a substantial eco bonus. It just isn't super relevant early game, but now it's going to pay off, as DauT will be able to click up as soon as he wants to. He just needs to wait for a villager to finish, and Kkab on his way to the next stage, and it looks like he's going for Eagle Warriors. Now that is an interesting choice. So, alright, let's talk a little bit about that Eagle Warrior decision here. Now, I'm not exactly sure what Kkab is anticipating here that makes Eagle Warriors, like, super good. I think that, the Byzantines always have this option of opening up in the Imperial Age with a strong archer range line of play, where, maybe they go for, like, arbs or hand cannoneers or something like that, and then the Eagle Warriors should be able to shred right through this. Like, hand cannoneers, though, are reasonably good against the Eagles. Kkab does get the first strike, though, like, no matter what, as Kkab is going to be up to the Imperial Age first, so maybe he can use it as an element of surprise. Kkab has also seen the stable. He knows that there are, 2 monasteries down here, so the, mass elite Eagle Warriors with all those upgrades, like, he's gonna be able to just shred right through those monks, and dealing with any sort of like light cavalry, knight style play will get absolutely decimated. So I think that Kkab is assuming that DauT is just gonna continue with the same line of play. He's gonna still just make monks. He's gonna perhaps put that stable to good use. But DauT has something else in mind here, and that's really interesting. Is that he sees that Kkab has just kind of decided that he's gonna ignore the Castle Age, and well, DauT's plan is he's going to transition a huge amount of villagers onto stone. He's going to take advantage of this quiet, and he's going to start putting down some castles, as DauT thinks that he actually has enough time to safely transition into Elite Cataphracts, and that's a mark of a really good player when you can, I guess, estimate that. As it's really tricky to get to a situation in which you can afford to make Cataphracts, let alone like Elite Cataphracts too, and perhaps he has a big enough window. Kkab is getting ready to start applying some pressure. It looks like Kkab is going to be making some battering rams, backing them up with those elite Eagle Warriors, and then he's going to be ready to move out pretty soon. And, well, I'm curious to see if these Cataphracts are going to be enough here. It's going to be tricky for DauT. But he does have all 5 relics, and that certainly helps. Problem is, though, is that DauT was like playing a little aggressively here, right? So he has both of his stables at the front. I mean, not stables, his monasteries at the front. That way his monks had to spend less time walking to go get those relics. They're a little bit closer. And that means that, yeah, he got the relics a little bit quicker than his opponent, and if Kkab wanted to compete for those relics, then, DauT would have to walk a really short distance to them. But that means that when DauT is getting attacked by Kkab, when Kkab moves in for this push, that these monasteries are sitting ducks for a trebuchet or some battering rams. And I like that DauT is like reinforcing this area, because Kkab will of course want to go for the gate that is the shortest rush distance, the shortest distance from Kkab's own base. Opening up a gate, of course, creates a wider hole, a lot easier to pressure. Going over here, attacking from this angle is kind of awkward. So Kkab's going to come in here with a couple of capped rams, and if we take a brief moment to compare the villager counts here, we have about 90-ish from DauT at this stage of the game, but Kkab has, I do believe, Kkab is about 120, so that's a pretty big lead, and the villager lead is sort of like evening out a little bit now that Kkab has cut villager production, but he does have a stronger economy, and he's going to put some Eagle Warriors inside said rams to be able to get a little bit more attack damage, get them to move faster, and he's going to start sieging down this gate. And, well, DauT's Cataphract play is still very slow. He's going to make a Mangonel to go try and deal with this. Perhaps this Mangonel will buy enough time. I like DauT's decision here to go pull off a couple villagers to try and build an extra layer of walls behind this gate. Just try and stall. That's all DauT has to do in this case, is he has to get out a bunch of Cataphracts and stall here. And the thing is, though, is that this Cataphract play is actually just brilliant here from DauT. I can't really stress this enough, and that's because Kkab's going for Eagle Warriors, and Eagle Warriors are going to get absolutely trounced by these Elite Cataphracts. This is the Byzantine dream right here, and, well, Kkab might want to start teching into Arbalists or something to go deal with this, but Kkab doesn't really fear the Cataphracts that much, or perhaps he's overestimating them, but Kkab is prepping for this, though. He's building a bunch of monasteries, 5 to be exact, which is a lot. It might be a little bit difficult for Kkab to sustain production from all those barracks and all of those monasteries, considering he does not have all those relics at the back, but yeah, the gold count is really, really low. But the monks are a pretty good answer to those Cataphracts. The monks will be able to go convert the Cataphracts, as the Cataphracts are very expensive. You don't want to lose them to a conversion. And, well, both players here are going to be, moving up a little bit. Looks like DauT does lose a monk to conversion, gets gunned down by his own castle. Always sucks. And, well, Trebuchet is on the way out here for both players, and I always like to be the aggressor in these Trebuchet wars, as your opponent does have to spend a lot of stone repairing that castle. DauT needs to answer this back. The question is, when is he ready? Notice how long it's taken for DauT to actually get that Elite Cataphract upgrade. It's so very expensive. He has had to stockpile for so long, and he's only getting it right about now. And DauT doesn't want to move out until he has Elite Cataphract. Well, Kkab is inevitably going to get in these walls, and perhaps that's when DauT engages, because DauT can't afford to spend stone repairing this forever. He has plenty in the bank right now, but things are looking a little bit grim. Kkab has a second trebuchet that he can deploy at any point in time, and what's going on over here? Well, DauT still has his scout alive, and he is actually going to get a couple villager pickoffs for free. Actually, I'm not sure if Kkab sees this. He should probably deal with this scout if he can in time, but Kkab has not noticed this yet, and wow, that scout's actually getting some pretty sick value here. So DauT's still managing to hold the line. I wonder if Kkab would have gone for Elite Eagle Warriors if he scouted out this castle sooner, but I don't think he actually saw the castle until he, started attacking with the first set of Elite Eagle Warriors. Remember that Kkab lost his scout earlier on in the game, so he actually wasn't aware that this castle was really here until he started attacking. And I wonder if he would have gone with something like Arbs sooner if he saw this. And Kkab making absolutely the correct play here, so this is a great decision on his part. He's going to be putting down a bunch of archer ranges at the back. He's going to start teching into Arbalists, and when you're dealing with Cataphracts, you want to be thinking of those mass ranged units, but here they come! Here comes the Elite Cataphracts out of the castle. No Logistica yet, so he's missing out on some extra cleave, some extra attack bonus, but it doesn't matter. These Cataphracts just shred right through these Eagle Warriors. They're doing so much damage, and wow, DauT's not really losing any Cataphracts here whatsoever. I mean, he's losing a couple to conversion, and, conversion always a great 2-for-1 value here, but I don't think Kkab has enough monks for this, and in fact, since those Elite Eagle Warriors are all dead, there's nothing to protect these monks. These monks just gonna get gunned down, charged by all those Elite Cataphracts. It just goes to show, you don't even necessarily need Logistica, it's just a luxury at this point. Although I would like to see it from DauT at some point, and, well, Kkab's like, shit, I don't really have enough time to go transition into something else. He kind of has to make Elite Eagle Warriors right now while he's waiting for things like the Pikeman upgrade, and he's gonna have to start fielding out some crossbows, but I don't know if he has the upgrades, and yeah, he's grabbing crossbowmen right now. Kkab hasn't had enough time to react to this play from DauT. These Elite Cataphracts are just crazy, crazy good here. And Kkab's aggression sort of petering out. I do like that Kkab is shifting his focus, though, onto this monastery, trying to go whittle that down. If he gets this monastery to go drop the relics, then, that's a reasonable blow to DauT's economy, and... Wow, that scout! Did that scout kill how many villagers? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? 6? 6 villagers? That's some crazy value here. Keeping that scout alive just goes to show is very, very important. And now Kkab is going to have to start transitioning into pikes. The Arbs are on the way. He does have the Arbalist upgrade. He does have Bodkin Arrow. This is good. Always prioritizing your ranged upgrades first for your ranged units. It's really important to get the first shot. Make sure you do a little bit of extra damage. Some sick value. When we're talking about Cataphracts, though, one of the things that makes them amazing is that Cataphracts actually... kill pikemen in 2 hits, except for the Viking pikemen, since you get I think it's what, 16, 18 extra attack bonus versus infantry, I do believe. Yeah, and then 14 plus 18, yeah. So it kills all pikemen except for the Viking pikemen in 2 hits, and it also kills any halberdiers in 2 hits that don't have the max defense upgrade. So that'd be what? Off the top of my head, I think that includes Goths, Huns, Magyars, and Indians, I think, are all the civs currently that don't have the plate mail armor for their halberdiers. Yeah, so it kills them all in 2 hits, and, well, pikemen are something that you still want to make anyway, especially as the Aztecs in this situation, because you don't have too much better. The Cataphracts are so incredibly good against them anyway that I don't think it's that ideal. In fact, that's why I really like that DauT went for this Elite Cataphract play. He saw that he had the opportunity, that Kkab was just full booming in this situation. That gave DauT enough time that Cataphracts are suddenly an option, whereas normally they're just too slow. And the Aztecs don't really have a perfect answer to the Cataphracts. I mean, Arbalists are good, but you need to get out the Arbalists earlier, you need to get them massed up, and without the Halberdier upgrade, these pikemen aren't that great. In fact, the pikemen also have a substantially smaller attack bonus versus cavalry in general than the halberdier does too, so they're a lot weaker here. I mean, even with the Garland Wars upgrade, which I guess Kkab doesn't have yet, he's not worth it. He's not worth it at all. Kkab, though, is going to be prioritizing his upgrades for his Arbalist, which is exactly what he needs to do, and he's actually, managing to hold the line here with some sick conversions and just being able to outproduce DauT, as DauT's really only making light cavalry and elite cataphracts at this point with a couple of rams, so his unit production is actually incredibly slow, and it looks like Kkab did manage to eject a couple of the relics out of that monastery, so yeah, it helps a little bit. And now DauT's like, I need to amp up the unit production, so he's going to go put down a bunch more stables. But these stables, I don't know what they... I know that he was making the light cavalry to go deal with those monks originally, and they're going to be, pretty good against the Arbalists too. But Kkab had all those barracks already. He was able to transition into pikemen quite easily because he already had all those barracks since he was making Elite Eagle Warriors sooner, so making this transition not very difficult for him. And perhaps these stables will not get that much value here. DauT actually might need to start making like archery ranges, perhaps, massing some skirms or something like that. Cataphracts are such a powerful unit if you can back them up with some good support, perhaps some like mass skirms to go deal with the arbalists, maybe hand cannoneers to go deal with the pikemen. But I sort of like that skirms or arbs play, perhaps. More light cavalry coming down from DauT. And again, part of this is that DauT's economy, like, he has so much food. Like, he needs to spend it on something. He needs to get some military units out. So I think that this is absolutely fine. And thank goodness he has 5 relics, because he's running low on cash desperately. You kind of need this many relics when you're going for Elite Cataphracts. That's another reason why it was so good in this situation. And, well, Kkab is going to be moving the line forward over here, but DauT's going to be shifting his attention over to the left-hand side of the map with this aggressive forward castle. But Kkab, with good map awareness, is going to recognize this. Send a couple Cataphracts that he stole. The best way to deal with Elite Cataphracts is just to convert them and steal them. Yeah, I like that. Get some pretty good value here. I think, though, that DauT might be able to still get this castle up anyway. Kkab's going to go drop his own defensive castle, and it looks like we're just going to have a little bit of skirmishing going on over here, but DauT manages to get it off in time, and these light cavalry are going to try and charge at those monks. We'll have to see if that's enough, but I think that this fight is going to be, it's going to be close. I mean, really, like, those arbalists need to die, those monks need to die. This is a very, very close engagement. However, actually, DauT's getting some good shots off of this castle. He's going to be able to just sort of shred those pikemen, man. It goes to show that the pikemen here, not the best answer. Perhaps Kkab actually moving up a little bit prematurely. Not quite ready to engage this fight, but Kkab still with some very good unit control, not wasting any shots accidentally on those siege rams, because units will default to shooting the closest unit. And wow, Kkab's army gets completely cleaned up here, and that could be almost game for him, as it's going to take a while for him to mass up his army, even with that 15% faster military production speed. And well, he's also invested a significant amount of resources trying to go defend this town center out here, and Kkab with enough map control does have gold mines to sustain him, even though his opponent has 5 relics, but he has to be really careful, because losing map control means that he's going to run out of gold income and then inevitably just collapse here, as trash units not so great against those Elite Cataphracts. Ideally you want something like mass arbalists with like pikemen at the front, so basically exactly what Kkab's doing, and monks are pretty good too, but you need to have a reasonable enough number of them. That cleave damage is just so strong, and fully upgraded paladins are also a good answer, but Kkab, being the Aztecs, does not have access to fully upgraded paladins. The trample damage is certainly not something to be overlooked. It does matter. Fun fact, actually, when I was a kid, I had no idea what, like, trample damage meant. Like, that's such a very vague tooltip. It didn't really make any sense to me as a kid. I thought that Cataphracts deal damage to units that they, like, walked over. So I would, like, make a group of Cataphracts and, like, run them through my opponent's army, and I was like, did that do any damage? I had no idea. It took me a while to actually figure it out, but it's just they do like a little area of effect damage around their target, which is pretty sick. Here comes the pikemen. Unfortunately, Kkab never really managed to get Garland Wars, and actually I don't think that matters that much here. The extra 4 attack is nice, but it doesn't make the world of difference versus these Cataphracts. Now Kkab kind of on the back foot. Thankfully, this gold mine is completely exhausted, so Kkab doesn't mind that much about losing that one. And, well, a couple of skirmishers being fielded out by DauT. I think the skirms are certainly great, for the Byzantines, since they're super duper cheap. Might as well just spam them, and they do get full upgrades. Skirms are going to be a good old value unit here, especially as we're moving to that stages of the game where every penny is precious. Both players have to be very careful with the gold that they spend, and Kkab still doesn't have a clean answer to this attack on the right side. He will lose this town center and all of these buildings, as he's not going to be able to stop that. He's managed to repel the front of his base, but there are a lot of villagers in this town center that are just going to die. And in the meantime, part of the reason why Kkab is getting pushed back so hard is he has dedicated a lot of his attention to trying to deal with DauT's forward castles. This is a great diversion on DauT's part, managing to capture a lot of Kkab's attention, and that's 4 battering rams, 4 cap rams over here. That's a lot of pikemen. Kkab wants some more map control, and by the time he pushes out, actually DauT will have already mined almost all of the gold here, so, DauT making great time here. He's going to be able to just strip mine all these resources before Kkab gets a chance to counterattack. And in the meanwhile, those pikemen could be back at home, except that DauT managed to force a lot of them away by building this castle over here, and that will allow DauT to apply a lot of pressure at the front of Kkab's base. DauT, though, is going to divert a huge chunk of his forces. He's going to send away a lot of his own Cataphracts to the left side of the map. He's going to go try and clear out this army, and honestly, I think that's enough Cataphracts that he'll be able to just, shred right through those capped rams and just clean up these pikemen without too much difficulty. I would like to see... Okay, well, I guess I understand why Kkab isn't going for arbs here, because DauT is getting ready to transition into a heavy amount of elite skirmishers, and, well, DauT does have access to light cavalry as well, so... This is when things get really, really tricky for Kkab, as Kkab just does not have an easy way to deal with or answer those Elite Cataphracts. Like, Kkab kind of has to just mass up pikemen, because he can't really, like, go for his own arbalists anymore. It's just not very good against those light cavalry, all the skirmishers. Kkab really just has to mass up pikemen, and those pikemen are not amazing against those cataphracts, especially considering he's the Aztecs. And Kkab does manage to squeeze Garland Wars out here, which will help a little bit. And, well, Kkab does have a big army. Will DauT be able to answer this? Well, we see both players here moving in, trying to engage each other, but... well, DauT is still actually just cleaning this up. It's hilarious when you think exactly how tanky and survivable Elite Cataphracts are. If you let your opponent get to this stage in the game where they just have an army of Elite Cataphracts, it can be devastating. And it's all about knowing your Civ matchup, being able to analyze the situation. You won't be able to get away with this every game. But when your opponent leaves you enough space, when you get 5 relics in the early game, then by all means, this is the answer, especially when your opponent is the Aztecs. So very hard for them to deal with this, and Kkab's like, wait, crap, I need more archery ranges now as I lost all mine. It's time to go put them down, but he doesn't have enough time to make them, and Kkab is going to call GG here as he's going to crumble under the might of DauT's army of Elite Cataphracts backed up with skirms. Now, this is a combo I can get behind. That's some sick value, and in the achievement screen, I expect to see a pretty solid KD for him. You know, Kkab might be able to sort of trade resource efficient wise with his opponent, considering he's spending a lot less gold by making like mass pikemen. And, you know, he's getting some conversions off, but in the end, it's still just so difficult to, you know, actually kill the cataphracts. And I really love the decision on DauT's part to just transition into those castles. The moment that he saw that Kkab wasn't actually contesting the relics at all, like around 23 minutes in, he started sending some villagers to stone and just managed to get out a couple of castles. And I still wonder if Kkab would have gone for the same line of play if he saw those castles sooner. I think he might have been a little bit surprised when he came in with the Eagle Warriors initially, expecting maybe something a little bit cavalry focused, maybe monk focused or archer range side of things, but the Elite Cataphracts are always an option, and I think that Kkab's response with monks was good, and I think his response with arbs was good, but it was just a little bit too slow. It wasn't able to come out in time, and as a result, DauT was able to come out on top of the situation, and that was a fantastic game. I love to see Cataphracts in action, and this is a prime example of when they can be fantastic. So, let's go check out the achievements, shall we? To the Cataphract victory theme. Oh, yeah. So this right here tells the entire story. Look at that, KD for DauT. Ooh, those Elite Cataphracts. I mean, the thing is that Kkab had a much bigger army here, almost double the size of DauT's, but size doesn't mean everything, my friends. It's how you use it. And DauT's army here, small but very, very nimble, very bulky, is able to actually just sort of run right through those pikemen, deal with them, and as a result, DauT able to come out on top. Those 38 units converted, though, I mean, that's some pretty sick value. That's like 2 for 1. Like, you get another military unit for yourself, and you basically manage to kill one of your opponents. And, well, for a guy who managed to boom really hard in the early game, unfortunately, Kkab fell a little bit behind economically as the game went on, as that, like, eco bonus that you get from going for that boom sort of, like, evens out around 35 minutes when DauT is able to catch up on villager production when you stop your own villager production. So Kkab had this window that he was, you know, trying to exploit with that faster-ish Imperial Age. 27 minutes is, you know, pretty speedy, and he was able to try and get the first strike off with those Elite Eagle Warriors, but he wasn't able to get into the walls in time, and having those 2 defensive castles there was actually just enough time to stall Kkab for DauT to be able to catch up economically and actually manage to get out some Elite Cataphracts. It is amazing how good they are against infantry units. It's really crazy, and you need a pretty big group of arbalists, hand cannoneers, like something ranged. Ideally, when you're dealing with the Elite Cataphracts too, you have to be careful not to bunch your units up too much, otherwise you get killed by the trample damage from Logistica. But yeah, there's just not enough ranged units out in time. Kkab tried his best to go defend against the Cataphract menace, but this is not the type of situation that the Aztecs like to deal with. The Aztecs, not the best against those Byzantine Cataphracts, and it really shows here as, well, DauT knows his civilization, able to read the situation perfectly, and Elite Cataphracts OP. Great to see these guys in action. Now, of course, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please do leave me a like rating, as this helped me out quite a bit. Also, I do read all of your comments, even if I don't get a chance to respond to them, so as always, feel free to let me know if you enjoyed watching this video. And if you did, you might also like the rest of the stuff on my YouTube channel. I have plenty of other Age of Empires 2 videos there, as well as videos of other games. And also, I do live stream regularly on Twitch TV, Age of Empires 2 every week, as well as some other games too, so feel free to head on over to my Twitch page, and you can find my live streaming schedule on my Twitch page by scrolling underneath the video player. That's the best way to know when I'm streaming, and I update that schedule every single day, so make sure you keep your eyes peeled. As always, guys, thank you so much for the support. It's very much appreciated, and I look forward to bringing you all more awesome Age of Empires 2 content and future episodes of Break the Meta. Alright, see you all next time. GG, well played.